Is it too late to start selling on Amazon? Is it too saturated? Is it really a good idea to start an Amazon FBA business now? These are the most frequent questions that I get asked by people that are considering starting Amazon FBA as a side hustle. And my answer to those questions is yes and no. And whilst that might sound odd, the reason it's that is because the right answer to those questions depends on who is asking me the question and the type of person that they are. So in this video, I'm going to be going over both arguments of whether it is and isn't too late, and then summarizing what my views are. So let's start with the argument that it is too late to start selling on Amazon. Now, did you know in 2021, more than 1 million people registered a seller account on Amazon, which is the equivalent of just under 3,000 new sellers each day. And that figure reflects the enormous amount of attention that selling on Amazon is getting, which basically comes from its exponential growth and the amount of money that people have seen that some sellers are making. Whilst it's believed that only 1 in 3 of those new seller accounts will ever actually go on to sell a product on Amazon, that figure is still pretty high, and it certainly does mean that selling on the platform is becoming increasingly competitive. And that's only going to continue as time goes on and more people register to sell. So that means that if you're expecting an easy ride where you can simply copy and paste someone else's product idea to sell on Amazon without giving it much thought, then it probably is too late for you, because there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of others right behind you with the exact same plan, which means that any lazy business idea is going to be short-lived. Although selling conditions are certainly a lot better than they were at the peak of the pandemic in 2020, if you're thinking that starting an Amazon business, or any business for that matter, in 2022 is going to be smooth sailing now that the world is gradually getting back to normal, then think again. In the past 6 months, sellers have continued to experience shipping delays, cancellations, lockdowns, increased costs, and just general inflation, all of which require problem solving in order to circumnavigate them. Now, in my view, tougher operating conditions for just about any entrepreneur, they're here to stay for the long term. So if you can't handle that type of heat, then the last Amazon boat for you has probably already sailed. The days of easily being able to sell 1,000 units of any product found on Alibaba without giving it much thought or attention have sadly gone. But with that said, there are still many reasons why now is the perfect time to start selling, and why you should be incredibly excited to get going. So first of all, whilst the size of the online shopping industry is huge and it's rapidly growing, when you compare it to the number of sales being made in retail stores, it's still tiny. Despite growing nearly 50% in 2020 during worldwide lockdowns, e-commerce sales still only represent around 20% of total sales, which means that for every 5 products being bought at any one time, only one of those purchases is from online. This tells us 2 things. The first is that e-commerce is still very much in its infancy, and many people, believe it or not, are still yet to try it. And secondly, there's a ton of growth within e-commerce left to come, which is clearly going to flow through to benefiting Amazon, who are going to see continued exponential growth. Amazon's revenues are growing huge amounts. I think they've grown on average 40% every single year since they started. And the latest statistics show that at least 60% of people that are going online to shop start with Amazon. And that is ultimately going to give independent sellers, just like you or I, a huge opportunity to make profits. The online shopping industry is expected to grow by more than 20% over the next few years. And that means that, if anything, the number of new sellers registering on Amazon each year that I mentioned earlier, that number is not enough to service the expected huge increase in demand for online shopping. Now, another reason to get excited about starting to sell on Amazon today is that it's never been fairer. Amazon has never been more focused on ensuring that their platform is a level playing field. and that sellers aren't getting away with black hat tactics and cheating, giving them an unfair advantage. Now, I'm not saying that it's a perfect place to sell by any means, but Amazon is certainly a much fairer place to sell than it was before. So, for example, historically, sellers that were typically Chinese could gain an unfair advantage by giving away tons of products in exchange for 5-star reviews and getting a higher rank in Amazon's search results, which meant that new sellers would often really struggle to compete because they didn't have the budget to be able to do big enough giveaways or to manipulate search results effectively. Recently, though, things have changed and Amazon has updated their terms of service very clearly about what is and isn't allowed. And they've also started clamping down heavily on any sellers that break the rules, and that's regardless of their size. They've banned a ton of huge sellers over the last year, and they've been really public about that. Even better is that at the beginning of 2021, Amazon implemented an automatic tax collection service on all sales made by international sellers. And they also started conducting document inspections to ensure that customs and duties were being correctly paid. And this move was welcomed by sellers because it meant that the ability to offer rock bottom prices on products as a result of avoiding tax and duties was no longer possible, meaning that any unfair advantage due to this no longer existed. In fact, I'd argue that if you're a domestic seller in the UK, then it's now you that has the unfair advantage over the international guys because you can register for a VAT exemption, which means that your Amazon fees are going to be 20% lower than anybody else's. Amazon's harder stance on rule breakers can be seen when we look at the data that Amazon provides on the location of sellers on its platform. A recent study conducted by Marketplace Pulse actually found, when they analysed the data, that the proportion of US-based sellers on Amazon has recently started to increase despite being on a downwards trend over the past few years. And this to me is a clear sign that international sellers who historically prevailed due to cheating tactics, they're no longer finding Amazon as profitable as they once were. So they're retreating or finding other opportunities off of Amazon, which makes it a more attractive and fair place for us guys to sell. Whilst anybody running a business in 2022 should still expect disruptions of some sort, thanks to the ongoing impact of the pandemic, it isn't actually all doom and gloom, and it does appear that the world is gradually returning to more normalized conditions, particularly with shipping costs, which I've seen have started to fall, meaning that products that were previously too expensive to ship can now be considered. Some people have even managed to get last-minute shipping containers for prices comparable to pre-pandemic levels, which is hopefully a sign of more good things to come. So although shipping costs are certainly more elevated than they were prior to the pandemic, they've definitely started to come down, which is promising for those of you on smaller budgets looking to get started or operating on tight margins. So those are my reasons for it being a good time to start selling on Amazon. And when you compare them with my reasons against that I ran through at the beginning of the video, I'm hoping that you can now see what I meant when I said that my own answer to people depends on who I'm speaking with. In case it's not clear, my view is that the days of being able to copy and paste any product and make a profit easily without thought or effort, those days are long gone. So if you're expecting to be an overnight success and driving a Lambo in months, then yes, it is too late to start selling on Amazon and you are going to be disappointed. But if you're the type of person that's willing to work hard and you're prepared to show grit and determination in order to build something that you can be incredibly proud of over the next 6 months or so, then honestly, in my opinion, there's never been a better time to get involved. Of course, we all wish that we'd started selling on Amazon back in 2012 when just about anything could sell and make money, but those days are gone. And to quote the popular Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now. And that rings true for selling on Amazon. I hope that you enjoyed my arguments here and that if you are considering it, you're now pumped for the challenge and you're looking forward to smashing it. If you disagree with what I've said, or if you agree, then let me know in the comments. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more Amazon FBA related content. I will see you guys next time.